Manchester City in what was, of course, the 7th round of the matches. Bodø Glimt winning by 3-1 to register their first ever Champions League victory. Erling Haaland's poor run of form will continue. Just 1 goal in their last 8 games. That was a penalty. The comeback of Rodri has not inspired the team as much as many thought it would. He would be sent off. 2 yellows in 53 seconds. City ending the game with just 10 men. Back-to-back losses for City. 2 wins in their last 7 matches in all competitions. Manchester City players have decided to reimburse those fans who travelled for Bodø Glimt loss. A nice gesture there from the players.
Go to Jan.
We'll talk about that gesture in a minute, shall we? Jan, where do you want to start? Erling Haaland be a massive failure or Bodø Glimt with a big victory?
I start with Bodø Glimt, I think. No, it was, to be fair, I mean, we say this is breaking news that they're winning at home. I was there when they beat Mourinho 6-1 when he was at Rome. I've seen them playing very good against Tottenham. They were 2-0 up, 2-2. They managed a 2-2 away to Dortmund. So just to explain this win based on AstroTurf, on the temperature, that is not enough. I mean, Bodø Glimt, I'm not saying they outplayed them, but they played as Bodø always do, 4-3-3, waiting for City, then counter-attack. Jens Petter Hauge, we remember from Frankfurt, he winning the Europa League for Frankfurt. He was in Milano as well, had a brilliant goal. But before the game, I was sitting somewhere tipping this game. I said 2-1 to Bodø Glimt because I've seen Manchester City lately. They have no energy. They have been tired, and then you go all the way up to the Polar Circle, to the most beautiful country in the world with the Northern Lights, and they go out there against a Bodø Glimt team that is on fire at home. And it was a great game. Kasper Høeg, that was also a prediction of mine. I said he has goal allergic, he can't score goals, and he scored 2. And the second one was brilliant taken against Donnarumma, and he's not functioning at the moment for Manchester City. And I'm very happy for Bodø Glimt, of course, but it's a worrying time for Manchester City after that Old Trafford thing and now in North Norway.
Steve, you weren't here yesterday. Yeah. Jan's right. City look really lethargic at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough enough to go and play on that type of surface at the best of times. But when you're actually struggling and there's no real cohesion, you're kind of unsure of each other all the time. And it's really tough, and it showed. And you saw a Bodø Glimt side who read all the bounces, read all the second balls, and then took the chances. As much as it is a shock, I just think people should understand that when you play on that surface...
So you're giving City a pass?
No, I'm not giving them a pass. I'm just saying that everything conspired against City. Mostly the way
a pass.
Mostly the way they've been playing, and they haven't been together in the back line. But you shouldn't discount how tough it is to play on that surface.
Well, the thing is, isn't a one-off, and that's the whole point of this. Isn't it? If City had won 20 in a row, went to this bad pitch, cold?
Yeah, everything can. You stick it all those things that we've been talking about, and the thing you've just talked about, and it shouldn't be a huge surprise that they struggled. Yeah, they should still win the game.
Of course, it's a surprise. This team hasn't won.
They should still win the game, but I just don't think you understand how tough it is on that surface.
Well, I think they were in the semi-final, as Jan pointed out. I think semi-final of the Europa League, right? Yep. They're no mugs.
Yep.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is, I'm not making excuses for them, not at all. The surface was nothing to do with the mistakes at the back. The surface was nothing to do with Rodri being sent off. The surface was nothing to do with Erling Haaland not putting some chances away. I read a report. I saw some when Macclesfield beat Palace in the FA Cup, which was one of, I think, the biggest shock ever in terms of the number of places between the teams, that one of the Palace players was overheard, maybe even been Mark Gay, saying, "I don't really fancy this today." And that really inspired the Macclesfield players, because they thought, this lot, we can get this lot, roll the sleeves up. They don't want this blood and guts, this muck of this pitch. And I got the feeling that, it's a synthetic pitch, it's freezing cold in Norway, it's a good team, we're struggling if you're Man City, we've got these injuries, we're feeling a bit sorry for ourselves, our manager keeps bringing it up, our strikers hit the buffers a little bit, and you could say, did they, before you go through the the technicalities of both teams. Did City actually fancy the fight away from home in these conditions?
No.
And the answer is no, because
Similar
as
to
a
what we saw
player,
in the derby. They didn't fancy the
they
fight
don't.
then.
Yeah, exactly.
They were playing
As a player.
on a perfect.
Yeah,
as
but
a
that
player,
was
when you step on that field, you go, oh, gee.
And it's all about the
That's
injuries.
the first thing you do.
That's what I'm going. I'm giving them no. You know this.
Yeah.
I'm giving City no passes. Zero. Absolutely zero. I mentioned it yesterday. They don't recall Akanji from his loan. They know John Stones has played a handful of games in the last 2 years. They know they've got problems at the back, but yet they go out and spend in different areas. And now he wants to moan about the injuries. No sympathy.
Yeah.
Absolutely none whatsoever.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to get Frank involved on the last bit of news, obviously. Would you pay for fans, given your disappointment in the results? Would you pay for their tickets and their travel?
Yes, especially with the performance that you had yesterday. And it's kind of an excuse that you wanna show. I understand. No, it happened to me, and I play against Tromsø in the first leg of the Champions League in north of Norway. I think it's even more northern than Bodø Glimt. Maybe Jan will tell us, but we lost 3-2 on the first leg of but the game, it was different. It was snowing. We had to stop the game 3 times, but we weren't good. We weren't prepared for the fight. We won 7-0 the second leg, but it was so disappointing for the fans who came over as well. So I can understand that the club wants to show something and show some sympathy for the fans who made the effort to come over, and I think it's just only fair for me.
It's not the club. It's the players.
Yeah, the players are paying.
It's not the club, it's the players. And this is pathetic. Where does it end? Man City go and play Burnley away, or whoever it is, Wolves, they got Wolves next game out, but I think it's at home. Where does it stop? They have a bad performance. How are they reimbursing? It's disrespectful to Bodø Glimt. It's almost like saying, we should have beaten this team 4 or 5. And we were garbage today, so we're going to repay you because this is just a bunch of guys from Norway who you've never heard of, and we should have beat them. It's downright disrespectful. If you're a supporter, you pay your money, you take your chances. That's what supporters do, through thick and thin. They put the money down and they turn up, home and away, some of them, and they take their chances. It is ridiculous to be shelling out money because you've had a bad game. Because you'd never stop shelling out.
Right.
It's just ridiculous.
So if you're part of that squad, you'd say no?
I would get stuffed. Not happening.
Stevie?
No.
No, me.
First of all, when you go to Norway,
I've got zips in my pockets.
They're Scottish. Of course they don't want to spend money.
First of all, the City fans who went to Norway, they will pay that back again because they went to Norway, which is great to come to. That is point number 1. Point 2, it's interesting. It's interesting the analysis we have now because Manchester City did exactly the same mistakes against Bodø Glimt as they did at Old Trafford. And last time I checked, and I was there on Saturday, there were no AstroTurf there. It was more or less the same temperature. It can get cold in England as well. So let's not hear this thing that it's so cold and all that kind. Because if you saw the second goal, did you see they were all over the place, the City defenders, that they've been in so many games. Nothing to do with the AstroTurf, nothing to do with the cold. And it's also a fact that good players, when good players are on form, they are better on AstroTurf because the AstroTurf is not like back in the old days. I don't like AstroTurf at all. I don't think it should be allowed in the Champions League. That's my status. But we can't use that as all the mistakes as Manchester City doing at the moment. They were very, very tired at Old Trafford. They were very, very tired traveling to North Norway. And of course, Bodø Glimt, this was the game of their season. They wanted one game at home against either Manchester City or Arsenal, coming to Norwegian football stars home, and then away to Dortmund, and they got their game. And that was a fantastic win for Bodø Glimt. And in terms of paying the fans, I mean, could be an excuse, could be a good thing to do. I don't think that is I don't bother about that.
What would you have done as a player, though, Jan, if the captain came up to you and said, look, this is what we're doing?
I would probably be said, yes, okay, I can share that with you guys because we'll do that as a thing. But I don't abuse it as an excuse to going. And please, Craig, in all due respect to Burnley, don't compare it to North Norway, will you?
But this is what I don't understand. This is what when I wouldn't advise going to Burnley in the first place, I have to be honest. This is what I don't understand. This kind of nonsense, right? Appeasing people. Where does it stop? What if I'm a fan who wasn't in Norway, but what I'm a fan who goes to another Champions League game and they're absolutely crap again, and they don't get their money reimbursed? What's the difference? Where does it stop with this nonsense of just trying to appease people to try and smooth it over? It's not like they're not going to go away from home again. They're going to go away at least 50% of the games, maybe more with the cup competitions. So are we saying that every time they put in a subpar performance, the captain's going to have to go to the players and get in their pockets? They've got enough money, I understand that, they're very rich people. But it's the sort of sentiment behind it. It's just wrong to me. It just feels wrong.
It's even worse in Germany. Have you seen that after game when they lose? They're standing by the ultras and let them have a go at them, throwing things at them. Sometimes the captain go over to the fence talking to the leader of the ultras and getting all abuse. I hate that.
Well,
I think
they do that in France.
They shouldn't do that
Do they
either.
do that in France as well, yeah?
Well, they shouldn't be doing that either. That makes no sense to me either.
A lot more of what we've seen in the Champions League on list.
No, that's even worse.
I've seen a link, Frank. It's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Frank the Buff had the pleasure of watching this for us. Frank, tell us all about it.
Yeah, and it seems to be that I was the only one watching it. But really, Chelsea did what they had to do. The goalkeeper, Gorter, the Dutch goalkeeper, made some crazy saves, especially the first half. And it could have been like 5 or 6-0. But surprisingly, when Chelsea scored the goal 10 minutes before the end of the game, Paphos were dominant after that, which is unexplainable from the Blues. You know, you should have finished the game and it could have been an easier game. But overall, nothing much to say. The team played well. They tried hard and they were very professional. They really deserve to win that game 1-0. It's the minimum for Paphos. It could have been really worse.
I knew we were onto a good thing talking about that wall there.
What are you doing? We're going to move on. You don't have to say anything. It's fine.
I'm done.
Well, good. Speaking of Premier League sides, the big story, of course, from yesterday, Bodø Glimt beating
Mikel Arteta's work at Arsenal is being viewed in an even brighter light after the recent coaching shakeups elsewhere. With Chelsea parting ways with Enzo Maresca and Manchester United moving on from Ruben Amorim, the contrast is hard to miss. Arsenal has kept moving forward under Arteta, giving him time through difficult stretches, and now seeing the payoff as the club pushes again in the Premier League title race. It also raises a bigger question about strategy. While Chelsea and United are changing direction again, Arteta has been in place for more than 6 years, outlasting a long list of managers across those two clubs in that span. That stability has become part of the story, and it was a major talking point on the Seeing Red podcast with Tom Canton and John Cross. Beyond reacting to Amorim's dismissal and breaking down wins over Aston Villa and Bournemouth, plus Manchester City's loss to Chelsea, the conversation kept returning to one core idea: structure. Not just who is the coach, but how much power that coach has, and whether the club is built to support a long-term project. Cross pointed to Arsenal as a rare example of patience turning into real strength. He argued that Arsenal's willingness to back Arteta through the messy early phases helped create the stable position they're in now, and that this kind of time and support investment is what can turn a club into something truly solid. Canton's response was sharp and honest. Arteta's arc, he said, has almost become a problem for other clubs, because it tempts them to keep coaches they probably shouldn't. But at the same time, it's still the best example of what can happen when you hire the right person and actually give them time. And that time wasn't smooth. The discussion highlighted how Arsenal could easily have pulled the plug early. 2 8th-place finishes, then 5th, missing out on the Champions League, and a Europa League semi-final exit to Unai Emery's Villarreal. Any of those moments could have pushed a club into panic mode. Instead, the argument is that Arsenal recognized the bigger reality. Arteta didn't have the resources to compete at the required level right away. The squad needed a rebuild. The roster needed to be refreshed. That's where the comparison to Chelsea and United becomes even more pointed. The podcast suggested that recruitment and decision-making structure are often what determine whether a coach survives. If signings don't land, results suffer. And if a coach doesn't have enough influence or the club isn't aligned behind a clear plan, it becomes much easier for things to collapse. In other words, giving time only works if the coach is empowered to shape the team in a way that matches the vision. Cross also emphasized that Arteta's situation stood out because he pushed to be a true manager, not just a head coach. The idea is simple. Top coaches want a real say in the build, and they want the club to match what they were promised when they took the job. The discussion even pointed to how Arteta survived a low moment, like the home loss to Burnley, because the club stayed behind him. And in that period, with fan pressure affected by the COVID-era environment, Arsenal were able to hold their nerve instead of reacting emotionally. Meanwhile, the big unknowns now shift back to Chelsea and Manchester United. Who replaces Amorim? And how will the next chapter look at Chelsea? The answers may come sooner than people expect. But for Arsenal, the reality stays the same. They're stable, they're moving forward, and they're still in the title chase, while others are starting over again. And that contrast can shape how people judge every manager in the league. Because when two massive clubs hit the reset button again, it forces the same question Cross raised on the show. Is the quick switch actually fixing the problem, or just delaying the real work? The bigger takeaway from the discussion is that time isn't a magic solution by itself. It only becomes valuable when the club's structure supports the plan, and when the coach has the influence to push the squad in the direction he believes it needs to go. That's why the distinction between head coach and manager kept coming up. The podcast point is that if a coach is expected to own the results, he usually wants a meaningful say in the decisions that shape those results. And if he doesn't get that, patience alone won't save him. That's also where Arteta's early struggles get reframed. Those finishes and setbacks could have become a reason to panic. Instead, they became evidence of why alignment matters, because Arsenal chose to treat them as part of a build, not a final verdict. And once the squad was reshaped the way the club believed it needed to be, the results started to reflect that long-term approach. So the repercussions aren't just about Arsenal looking stable, it's about how stability changes your margin for error. When you don't reset every year, you're not constantly starting from zero. You're building on decisions, learning from setbacks, and keeping a clearer identity. For Chelsea and Manchester United, the immediate consequence is obvious. They're changing direction again, which means the next appointment carries even more weight. Because every new coach isn't just judged on results. He's judged on whether the club is finally giving him the structure and authority that the role demands. That's why the question at the end matters so much. Who will replace Amorim, and how will Liam Rosenior do at Chelsea? Because those answers will test the exact theme the show kept returning to. Time, support, structure, and control. And for Arsenal, it's a different kind of pressure. Stability doesn't guarantee trophies, but it does keep you in the fight longer. And right now, while others restart, Arsenal get to stay focused on what they're already doing, chasing the Premier League title.